Welcome back, everyone. This is the second panel where we're really going to look at multilateralism and whether it's in crisis and the rethinking of global cooperation. And I think it follows on very easily from the panel that we just concluded this morning. And it's my great privilege and pleasure to be able to speak to Romano Prodi. Many of you will already know that he was perhaps one of the best known prime ministers of Italy, having defeated Berlusconi on 2 occasions and then going on to lead for Europe. But I think there is something that the great Romano Prodi and I have in common. I have always honoured him, but he, as many of you will know, is the 8th of 9 children, 7 of whom are professors, including himself. But I am the 10th of 12 children, so I think I might just be able to compete with him a little. But this is our opportunity to really gain from your wisdom, not least because you have been the architect of many of the great European successes through the roles that you've played. And at this moment where multilateralism is under such strain, your wisdom and your oversight as to why this has happened and how we can seek to address it is really pivotal. So I'd very much like to invite you just to explore for us in the next sort of 5 or so minutes how you see this has happened, why it has happened, and what do you think we can do to address it?
Well, thank you. Thank you for your question. So what I understand is that we have to go on after the conversation of this morning, because this morning we had so many very interesting hints. And, the basic idea was the decrease of power of UN and Security Council. And in my life, I can testify it. I started my direct political life in the 90s, and I have always seen the decrease of UN power. Even if the new secretary, for example, he had a very strong passion for UN, but it was more and more powerless. And this is something, that was linked to an increase, an apparent increase of the Security Council role with some sort of division of labor, small problems to UN, big problems to the Security Council. Well, UN has been very important, let us not forget, for decolonization, peacekeeping. They avoided so many tragedies in Africa. I testify it. But all the big powers were taken to the Security Council, but powerless because of the veto right. So any institution with the veto right, it became powerless. So when there was a meeting of the Security Council, my mind was not which will be the majority, but who will take the veto right. Because this is, and so the enlargement that we has been proposed before to have, an increase of power of the global South with Latin America. It was absolutely correct. But if we keep the veto right, you have the result, you worsen the situation because clearly there are more and more possibility of having a veto right. I can testify it in my life in European Union. The big evolution of Europe was a passage from the Commission to the Council. The Commission represents the multilateral role. The Council represents the role of the single members of the Union. It's a total difference. With the veto right, European Union decision-making process paralyzes it. And so how can you get out of it? We did it in two occasions, the Schengen Agreement and the Euro. And it is incredibly important, the most important, one of the 2 or 3 most important decisions of the last 30 years of the European Union was the Euro. And this was decided by a majority, 12 countries. Now we are 21. So this has been, in my opinion, a good occasion to do that. And this is why now, in a deep crisis of European institutions, the German Chancellor has proposed, let us move out of majority, because it's clear that unanimity means absolutely paralysis of all the institution. But we have some additional points now in the crisis of democracy. They say, first of all, is the short-termism that is growing in power. Well, I don't want to exaggerate, but everything now, even the terrible Middle East situation, is in some way a consequence of the midterm elections. I am not pushing too much. I am analyzing what is happening now. The second involution of democracy is the increase of the identity. People don't vote anymore only for money, as Clinton. The money stupid when he was telling that. He is voting more and more for identity. And identity is an exclusion. Think MAGA is an identity. And the increase of the anti-European parties is the accent on identity. And the other main problem that divides the world is the increasing role of religion. I could have never expected the case of President Trump that was indicated by religious people as a gift of God. This didn't, in my life, it never happened this type. And so we are in front of this terrible split and evolution of democracy with the last point of weakness that is money. If we go on with the power of money in election, next time we don't vote with the votes. We vote only with money. That is, let's say, a short term. We decide more easily if we decide who is wealthier will be more powerful. These are the evolution that makes so difficult to get out of the paralysis that we have today. Can we get out of it? Well, step by step. Also, the first thing that we have to do now is to save all the institutions linked to UN. Let's say, many of them, you have FAO, you have UNESCO, you have all that are now almost paralyzed by the American default. We have to reorganize them without United States. And this is the first engagement that we can do it now. All other changes, they have a real political background that at this moment is difficult to achieve. We could think to some sort of Yalta conference type, but this is far away now. Let us now save what we have that is put in danger by the new American policy.
Of course, we had Dr. Tedros with us this morning, and it's been quite extraordinary what he has managed to do in terms of the WHO, notwithstanding that there has been a reduction in the money and contribution made by the US. He has managed to, with the support of the rest of the multilateral community, been able to still deliver. Is that the sort of restructuring that you have in mind?
Yeah, but we have to do quickly because, as I understand as an economist now, with the American reduction, this very important organization, they have money only to feed the bureaucracy, to live without any political strength and political consequence. So when if they die, then to reconstruct them will be more and more difficult. So this is my urgent, concrete appeal to reinforce the money endowment of that. Of course, I do hope that there will be change inside the United States, that you can have a change of American policy. But now the message I receive that they cannot do not even the most basic needs.
And I think if we can just talk about the rules-based order, because the whole basis upon which the UN was founded in 1945 was that the world having suffered so badly and humanity having been devastated, this was now an opportunity for us to work in accordance with agreed principles, agreed basis of international law. How do you see we can galvanize the support for the international system and those rules? Or is it gone?
Yeah, my fear is that I never believed in history, historia magistra vitae, the history teach. No, it's only the personal experience and the spirit I found in the first decades after the war is not anymore in the war. The sense of urgency, the sense of, the last message I received, it was when we were trying to build out the euro, and, there was the German Federation of Industry was against it, and the German Chancellor, Helmut Kohl, who was based on the industrials' help, he made a speech in favor of euro. So I called him and said, look, why you did so? And the answer was, I want the euro because my brother died during the war. Let's say a political problem, a political aspect of it. And if we don't have an emotion, a political emotion, we cannot change our institution. And now I don't see political emotion. Well, many people say there is a lack of leadership. But how can you have leadership when you have in all the countries, democratic countries, a coalition with different issues and with different priorities among the parties that make the coalition. And so the coalition government, they are done only in order to preserve and to do nothing, because anything will be. So we make day by day, we weaken our democratic system. This is my real worry that I have today.
And how do we readdress that then? Because one of the tools we used to have, or it was said we had, was this international consensus. We had an international consensus for the Sustainable Development Goals, an international consensus for the Paris Agenda, which people would then drive through their national parliaments. How do we create that consensus now in a world which is so polarized?
Well, not easy answer. Honestly, not easy answer, because you need some sort of coalition of willings in that. You know, you should need some concrete proposal, but you know, could also emerge at some moment of history. But I don't see it, because clearly you should need some sort of compromise between China and the United States. And I don't see it not in the side, on the other side, you know. So, because this is the reason why I insisted, telling at least let us preserve the jewels that we have built during these 80 years after the war.
So if you were advising, because we're now going to have a very exciting panel to follow this, where I know that the wisdom from the panel is going to help us, what would you say to us all needs to be the steps we can or should take to try and be the generation which will make the difference in the way that 1945's generation made the difference before us?
Look, you know, now I am telling the idea of some sort of agreement, because now we put all our confidence in bilateral meetings. You understand that we don't anymore have any trust to international conference. We have to be honest to admit it. So my last hope is that in some of these bilateral meetings, just in order to preserve themselves, they make some sort of compromise open to a wide agreement. I don't see now the moment of international conference or of, let's say, something that takes mankind together, you know, as I told before, I was so happy listening the idea of enlarging the Security Council, but in this situation will not have any real consequence.
So we're trying to be hopeful. A number of people have said that we are becoming more regionally based, smaller organizations built up with similar interests. Do you think that there is a capacity to get these regional bodies to come together so that they can try and support the vision that was delivered by a stronger United Nations?
Well, I am tempted to tell you the answer that was given to a famous French abbé after the revolution. And people asked him, Abbé, what have you done during the French Revolution? And the answer was, I survived. And I think that we are in the condition in which we have to preserve, survive, and hope of some change in the next future.
Well, thank you very much, but I know that you have set a challenge to the panel, because we're going to be teasing the panel to see whether they can come up with some of the solutions that we'll need to come forward. But it's been a great privilege and pleasure for me personally to be able to speak to you and to share with you.
So they will teach us how to survive.
Thank you very much indeed.